So this is the 5 part of the presentation. First, what is the healthcare facility, the ASHRAE recommendation, and what is in in the common knowledge and common practice. Then the effect of the different parameters on the humidification load, the humidification method that are been accepted by the community and also accepted by the standard from ASHRAE, and a few design tips. Okay. So I forgot to mention, but you can ask any question with the chat during the presentation, during the webinar, and my partner and colleague Eric is in front of me and is able to answer any question during my presentation. Okay, it will not interrupt my flow. So first, what is a healthcare facility? In my youth age and my when I was a kid, everything was done at the doctor office or at the hospital. But now we have more and more, subdivided the different function of the healthcare. What is healthcare in general to different facilities. So it can go from small clinics to urgent care and hospital, or trauma centers. So there I found a document where describing 14 types of facilities, but for humidification purpose I will cover only 11 types of facilities, because mental health usually are not, or when they do not provide any I would say healthcare to human, person to person, they will not be covered by a healthcare facility for humidification purpose. So ambulatory and surgical center. So when patients will receive surgical procedures, and this can be outside of hospital. Birth centers, that's centers where women will give birth. Blood banks, when people will give blood and platelets. Clinics and medical office. So more here in Quebec and probably everywhere in North America, more and more there is no more small office for one doctor. most of the doctors will go in small clinics, and they will most of the time offer more services than just uh, you know uh, uh, receive patient and diagnostic. So they will have sometimes laboratories, pharmacy, and so on and so forth. So this become clinics. Dialysis centers for people suffering from kidney disease, where they will need to go regularly, so like every week or on a regular basis for dialysis. So instead of going to hospital and load the hospital charge, so they will go on the small centers that would be more practical for them and to receive the care. Hospice home and palliative care center, that's for the end of life of a person. So that would be outside of the hospital also. Hospital, they are there to stay, and even they sometimes get bigger. Like in Montreal, we have 2 very super hospital. That was the trend in about 10 years ago. Imaging and radiology centers. That's the CT scan and the MRIs are required for a very tight control humidifier, and unfortunately not for humans but for the machine. Nursing homes, that's where people will stay more longer than when they will stay in the hospital so they will again free some rooms for other people, and orthopedic and other rehabilitation centers where people will get uh, orthopedic care, and finally the urgent care called UR facilities that sometimes are outside of hospital, okay, but most of the time part of the hospital. So now let's look at the ASHRAE. ASHRAE has published several documents, but the most two important one are the handbook published in 2019, covering the different application for ventilation and air conditioning, and and then the standard called with the number 170 that is published and republished every 4 years. So we should be in the eve of the new edition. So the last edition is 2017, and there has been 17 addendum in the past years. So just the past year, the year 2020. So there has been a lot of addendum due to the COVID-19. Okay, so this standard has made 3 categories of healthcare facilities and not 11 like I did, and 9 function of space. Okay. So in this standard, they are talking about humidifier and humidity control. Okay. First of all, they are having a list of essential accessories. So essential equipment and accessories, and humidifier controls and tank are not included in essential equipment for this standard. Okay. And there is a section 6.6, sorry, for humidifier only. So the only 2 types of humidifier that is accepted by ASHRAE for healthcare facilities are steam or adiabatic high pressure water atomizing humidifier. Okay. Then in the general requirement, you should have so they say that you should locate the humidifier in air handling unit or the ductwork, and you should have a humidity sensor, high limit humidity to limit it at 90% in the duct, so they acknowledge that the absorption distance or non-wetting distance is important in the design of they mentioned the duct takeoff, but in the design of the system, and the control valve shall remain off when the air handling unit is not in operation. For steam, the only requirement for steam humidifier is that the chemical additive used for the steam, so meaning the boiler steam, the plant steam, shall comply to FDA requirement. Okay, I will share my screen, and I will show you the different document here. So the different document is this one. So this is the FDA code regulation title 21, and this will be the list of the food and from the Food and Drug Administration, and listing the boiler water additive that are accepted. Okay, all the different additives here. Okay, and then this is the ventilation for healthcare facilities. This is the standard from ASHRAE. Okay, so you see that they have three different space. They have three categories: hospital space, outpatient space, and nursing home space. Okay, and in those different spaces, you will have, so that's, you have the system and equipment section here where you will find the humidifier, and then you will have the famous table. So this is the table that the engineer will use. I will try to rotate the view for you. So in this, so let's say function of space, physical therapy, you should have a negative pressure room. You should have two air change per hour minimum outdoor, and the total change of air change per hour is 6. So it's 33% outdoor air, that minimum requirement. No requirement for exhausted directly to outdoor, and no requirement for air recirculated. And humidity required is only a maximum. And you have here the temperature. So that's 7 parameters that ASHRAE is setting up for any function. So let's say for dialysis treatment area, no requirement for humidity. And I have to tell you that personally, I'm a little bit disappointed by this, but that's the way it is, and this is the responsibility for everyone to mention this to the committee in charge of this. The only function of space that is having a 30 to 60 relative humidity requirement is critical and intensive care. Okay, even in operating room, it's only 20 to 60. Okay, so we found also this document, which is from ASHRAE. It's called Humidity Control Events in Peri-Operative Care Area. And you will see here, and this is a document from the date is, sorry about this, is 1990, 2018 and 19, so before COVID. And in this document, they mention infection risk associated with humidity control events. And you see here that before the COVID, it was very clear for ASHRAE that low humidity or high humidity impact will be, so development of mold if you go over 85, but then loss of healthy immune system functioning, shelf life and integrity of sterile supply, transmission of airborne and droplet disease, survival rate of pathogens. So it was there before. Okay, it's not something new for everyone. So it just disappointed that the standard for the ASHRAE standard for healthcare facility is not more specific on humidity level. So let's go back to our, sorry, I lost the presentation. So just to, if you need any of the document, you can ask us and we can forward them to you. Okay, the FDA list for chemical accepted for steam system, and of course the standard from ASHRAE or the recommendation. We can send this to you. So for adiabatic, another surprise for us was when we went in deep in this ASHRAE standard, that is a mention of water adiabatic high pressure atomizing system accepted, which we don't think it's a very good very good way to humidify in healthcare facilities due to the risk of contamination, in fact. So you will see that for steam, it's only the chemical that is a concern, but for adiabatic atomizing humidifier, then the ASHRAE is listing 1, 2, 3, 4 condition for specific concern. So first, a reverse osmosis process plus UV plus a submicron filter. Okay, and then the water should always circulated, continuously circulated, and then here. And then you should have a port to test the water regularly, and then you have to have moisture eliminator, so droplet catcher after the atomizers, okay, in the duct. All right, so that's what are the different conditions if you use atomizing high pressure humidifier. So as I said, the good point is that relative humidity is one of the 7 most important design parameters from the table, this famous table from the ASHRAE, from the standard, sorry. But it is disappointing that for most of the healthcare space, there is no range specified or indicated, and there is only an upper limit to 60 or 70% relative humidity. The low relative humidity impact is very clear now for everybody. Okay, and let's hope that the next revision, the next edition of the standard will be updated to be more specific on humidity level per space. Okay, if you need any if you need any more argument or proof of the benefit of having a humidity control and at least 40 to 60% for healthcare, you can go and use our compendium. We have an application in our website. I will go at the end of the presentation and show you on the website where to find this compendium. We have a compendium of all the studies relative to humidity control for the health of the human. Okay. At least one thing that everybody agrees on is the Stirling chart. The Stirling chart is this one, and this is accepted by ASHRAE and by everyone. So the optimal zone between 40 and 60 for bacteria, viruses. Mold will start after 60, and I would say after 70, and if there is no ventilation, mites, respiratory infection, allergic asthma. That's what I have now. It's I'm suffering of allergy right now. Chemical, to reduce the chemical interaction, and ozone production. Okay, so you can also mention that this chart is accepted and should be used by consulting engineer when designing a system for healthcare facilities. So let's look now at the different effect of the other parameter on the humidification load. So you remember that there is 7 parameter, and the first one is room pressure in relation to the adjacent room. So just for this is a representation from the author's ASHRAE document, which is a recommendation. So this is a negative pressure room representation from the standard, but there is a representation, this schematic like this, representing a positive pressure room. There will be no effect on the humidification load. Okay, positive or negative pressure, it's just a matter of you have to calculate the CFM coming in compared to the CFM coming out. So if you have more CFM going out, then you have in the negative pressure. If you have more CFM coming in, then you are in the positive pressure. So the air will go outside the room naturally. So of course, when you have a room when you have a person suffering from COVID-19, you need not a positive pressure, you need a negative pressure. Why? Because you don't want to have any air coming out of any potential contaminated air coming out of the room. So you want all the air from the other room going in, but no air going out. Okay, is this clear? And you will manage how to get the air out and exhaust it directly to outside. Okay, so no effect on the humidification load. Now the minimum air change per hour, ACH, that's what is indicated in the table for outdoor and the total. This will have a direct effect on the humidification load. Why? Because more fresh air you are coming in, cold and dry air coming in, more humidification you will need. Okay, so this ratio here, 2 to 6, would be 33% outside air coming in. Then you have some other space where they mention 4 to 20. Some other space they will indicate 2 to 4, like in the ECT procedure room. Okay, 2 to 4, and they have a max relative humidity of 60. Okay. All right. So then the next parameter is the recirculation and the temperature. So the air recirculation will have no effect on the humidification load, obviously, but the design temperature will have a direct effect on humidification load, because the worst case scenario will be the highest temperature. So if you have very high temperature with the same relative humidity, you will need more addition of water to the space. So a good practice for the engineer would be to calculate the design, calculate the humidification load for the high level, the highest temperature that is indicated, not the lowest, or we might lack of humidity. Okay. So let's look at the different humidification method now for healthcare. So we know now that steam is accepted and adiabatic high pressure water atomizing. They have been very, very specific on adiabatic. So on steam, we have choice of electrode boiler, resistive heater, IR, gas-fired humidifier, which we don't do, live steam, ILS, or steam exchange, ISE. Okay, and on the adiabatic high pressure water atomizing, we have mentioned high pressure pump. This is which we don't do. But if you have a big project, we are able to get it for you. Okay, and compressed air and water, which we have. I forgot to put ACA. That's the name of the product. Okay, and I mentioned the compressed air and water, but if you read properly the standard, it's not a high pressure, the compressed air. Okay, so we can argue, but I think that if an engineer wants it, we can convince that compressor and water wants adiabatic atomizing. Compressor and water, I think he will probably accept it. Okay, although it's not a high pressure pump. So let's look at the steam, and we will compare the different equipment. So electrode boiler, the range on capacity would be from 3 to 200 pounds. The good point are it's compact and easy to install, but the down is that the cost of operation and the waste. You remember a plastic bottle, you have to throw it away and to replace it with a new. You can use it for small air handling unit or for point of use, so to humidify in the section a space in the duct. Okay. Electric resistive heater, IR, 1 to 30 pounds an hour. Why it's lower in the low end than the electrode boiler? Why? Because we are with the electric resistive, is not depending on water conductivity, so the modulation range is better, and this is a good point. It's that you have the best control for accuracy, and the down is the cost of operation. Of course, you use electricity. Small R&D unit or point of view, MRI, lab, operating room, this kind of space. Gas-fired humidifier, 5 to 600 pounds. Again, modulation is you cannot go as low as you can go with an electric steam humidifier with gas-fired humidifier. Why? Because the burner has a minimum like a latent heat. You cannot go so low in the down. So the modulation usually is 5 to 1, okay, compared to 10 to 1 with electric. So the good point is that it will be lower to operate than the electric, but the down point is that you will have carbon emission, okay, CO2. So in some state like California now, in any carbon, any equipment that will lead to carbon emission is banned from building. So we don't know yet where the trend will go, but probably not in using more and more fossil fuel equipment in buildings. Okay, so it's gas-fired can be used for medium-sized air unit, but it's not a good fit for point of use like MRI room or just humidifying just one room because of their size. Okay. Then the live steam. Live steam is widely used in hospital and large healthcare facilities. Why? Because most of the time they have the plant steam, and ASHRAE is authorizing to use FDA approved chemical in plant steam, so they can still use it. The other reason is that and I mentioned in the previous webinar, it's coming back also because the use of unfired steam generator. So a dedicated boiler that will be used for the clean steam application in the hospital or healthcare facility. Okay, so yes, that's. I would say that we love live steam humidifier at Steamova for healthcare, and we think that it's probably still the best way. Why? Because it's very versatile. It can go to very high capacity and to very low capacity, and has a very good control range. Of course, you cannot ask a 3,000 pound humidifier to give you a 0.5 pound minimum, okay, because the range of this and the size of the valve. But if you use a live steam humidifier on the point of use, it will be, let's say, one steam manifold, one ramp with a small valve. and then you can go to very low capacity and to this let's say 10 and 30, 50 pound. And then you can use it on the bigger handling unit, feeding all the hospital, and having 3,000. That's a limit that we have placed, but you can go over the 3,000 as long as you are adding pipes and nozzles and larger valve. You can do it. Okay, so it's probably the lowest cost of install and operation, and very versatile and very good accuracy. Okay, but caution, the chemicals, okay, which have to be verified and controlled. And then the last way to humidify, which is not so more popular, but still we think that it's probably the equipment that is probably not should be reconsidered, I would say. That's a steam exchange, ISE. So you take the raw steam from the plant steam, which will contain the chemical, and you convert it to pure steam. So that, and the capacity are equivalent to the gas-fired one, with a better accuracy and better low-end modulation rate. You have pure steam out of the power of the the plant steam. You have a good control accuracy. There is no down point here. Probably the cost of install will be higher than the live steam. Okay, it's good for medium size air handling unit or point of use, but point of use only with the ISE. This is why we mention it. Okay, no other manufacturer will be able to put a ISE for an operating room or for MRI. Why? Because their smallest capacity is already too high. Okay, but we can do it. We have a very small unit, and we are the only one having developed a small steam exchange humidifier. So let's look at the adiabatic high pressure atomizing option. So high pressure water atomizing use a pressure pump and nozzles that are very inexpensive. Okay, and as you remember, Ashway is telling you to place a droplet catcher, a droplet eliminator. Droplet eliminator usually are made from vanes plus a piece of media. So what it is really, it's a media, evaporative media that you put in the duct. And the evaporative media have been banned from hospital and healthcare, but they accept this one. This is why we are not agreeing with this. They have a very large capacity, but low accuracy. Why? Because they are using a stage control. Okay, so different ramps of nozzles, they will stage them. Okay, and there is a T missing here, but it's a large water droplets, 10 to 13 micron. This is why the Ashway is asking for droplet eliminator, because you have a risk of carryover these droplets of water. Yes, you'd make sure that the water you are putting in is decontaminated and filtered. But what will happen when these droplets will be in contact with the air? What will be the interaction with the air? Are you sure that this wet section between the nozzles and the droplet eliminator will be not contaminated? Should we install a UV filter there? This is not mentioned in the standard. This is why we don't make high pressure atomizer. We can get you one if you need, but we are not fan we will never push you to put high pressure water atomizer in healthcare facilities. Okay. For the same reason, we will never push you to put a media type evaporative unit in for healthcare facilities. And then the compressed air and water, ACA, which is equivalent to the high pressure water atomizing with better droplet size. Is 10 times smaller than this. The droplet size for ACA is 2 to 4 micron. Okay, so it gets absorbed very much more faster and quicker and easier than the high pressure water atomizer. So, and the control accuracy is much better because we can control the valve, but you need a compressed air, which they don't have most of the time in small facilities or in hospital. And then the cost of operation will go very high because the technology in the nozzles, and the nozzles are very expensive in ACA compared to the high pressure atomizer. So it's good for small air handling unit or point of use. If an engineer wants really to use atomizers for healthcare. So in this section, I will just cover some design tips. The first one, that's with the post-COVID-19 reality we are living in. Everybody wants more fresh air. Everybody wants more outside air. Everybody wants more ventilation or circulation with filters and filters and filters, or any other uh, purification way. 2-point ionizers, UV lights, EPA filter, MER 13 is the minimum, as Ashrey said. So if you put more filters, make sure that you don't put the filters right after a humidifier, a steam humidifier, or an atomizer, okay? Because the filter will catch the steam, will catch the unabsorbed steam or any droplets in suspension, and you will clog the filter. And first and second, you have a high risk of contamination of the filter due to this. Okay, so when people want to put more filter, tell them to verify where they will put this. Okay, always never downstream, okay, or too close if they are downstream, but upstream of the steam humidifier. Okay. Second tip: if the standard is asking for 33% outside air or fresh air, don't design with 50 or 100. We are still seeing and receiving specification and schedule with humidification load calculated with 100% air or sometimes 80% outside air. So the humidification load is huge for very small ducts. So you need what we call a prison gate. So a lot of vertical ramp blocking the air. So remember that we have on our SteamoCalc, you have the pressure drop indicated. So when you have uh, 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 when you add vertical ramps, then you will have higher pressure drop across, and this will go against the objective that you have, that to have a short distance of absorption of the steam. Okay, so this is always preferred to, sorry, this one, we will always prefer it to this one, okay, for obvious reason of blocking the air. The third one, what is accepted today might not be accepted in 5 years or 10 years. Okay, so today ASHRAE and everyone is accepting having chemicals that are FDA approved into the steam. Okay, but what will be what will be the acceptance in 5 years or 10 years? Okay, when you look at the FDA sheet standard and lists and you look at the different products, it sounds still scary. Okay, so there is two solutions for this. The first one is installing an Unfire steam generator dedicated for the clean steam space that you have to use. Usually it will be for sterilization, okay? Because they in the healthcare facility, most of the time they need to sterilize on the spot all the instrument they are using, okay, and materials they are using. So they need to, they will have a sterilization room. So this, and they will need autoclave and that kind of equipment. So they can use this clean steam produced by the Unfire steam generator for this purpose, and they can use the same source of steam to humidify the room for operating room, MRI, name them. Okay, so that's the first solution. The second, install a ISE steam exchange humidifier, and then you will get the plant room, the plant steam with chemical going to a heat exchanger, producing a pure and sterile steam going to the duct and to the respiratory uh, uh, function of all the occupants, meaning medical personnel that will stay, that are working there every day of their lives, and the patients that will be there for, you know, the purpose of their health problems. So I will go a little bit uh, more in depth in the ISE. The ISE, why the ISE was a little bit put aside over the years for hospital, because the offers from the humidifier manufacturer was very poor, and still very poor. They were not serviceable. They designed big tubs with the heat exchanger in the bottom, and then figure out who and how they will service it. We have a unique patent on the vertical heat exchanger. We are the only one having this. Why? Because finally there is a steam exchange humidifier that is serviceable on the market. You should tell them, okay? This also makes a very small footprint. It can be wall mount or on the stand, okay? We can do the same service on the ISE that we are doing on the IR, okay? The guide and lock, you remove the tank, you empty it, you put it back. And then we have put all the same electronics and control that is on the IR and all of the other humidifier. Okay, so the other very important advantage of the ISE is that we have designed two very small units, ISE 30 and ISE 60. All of the competition have been working for years in this end, so they were not able to go to a very small load. Okay, but now with a 15 psi you can have 30 pounds. So for MRI room or very small operating room, or depending where you are in the States, where of course the humidification load will not be the same as it is in Montreal. So you can put a small ISE, and then you will be sure in 10 years, 15 years from now, if the rules, if the regulation will be changing, and that the chemical will be banned because we will find out that chemical in steam can cause trouble to human beings, then you will be covered. You will use pure steam and peace of mind. And you will have a serviceable humidifier small enough for a room. Okay. Just to end this webinar, I would like to remind you a few of the projects. Some of them are were they already there at the last webinar we have done on the ILS live steam humidifiers. So Florimond Hospital in in Quebec, Edward Hines Veteran Hospital in Chicago with ISE and IR, Jesse Brown, all ILS with different phase in Chicago. So some of the part of the your hospital are with a very old system of jacketed type live steam, and others are equipped with the latest technology, which is high efficiency with insulation, vertical ramp type of live steam. We have done in Cleveland, Ohio, hyperbaric chamber, and we have recently sold in Franklin, Wisconsin, MRI room, also in Quebec, in California. We have MRI room humidified by Steamovap IR humidifier in various places. Okay. I will share again my screen for just to show you our website again, and how to get to the compendium. So in case you have an engineer that is not sure, or if you want to show this to the to any person wondering, is it good to humidify? I heard that the problem of humidification is that you have too much. Not at all. So you go to solution, application guide, and then here people, you have here company of scientific studies. So here you, and we will update this, of course. The study will come up. So the latest one is for COVID-19 is Japan supercomputer. So you click on more information, and you will be linked directly the to the study, and there is a small video there. Here it will come up at one point. Okay, so and then you have this one with the authors and the title. Okay, that's a survival rate of the SARS-CoV-2 and so forth and so on. Okay, so you have a very comprehensive list of studies here. Okay. All right, and the last news you added last week, so that's about Equator Smart, and we will have a link in the presentation soon about this. So at this point, I have to thank you. Of course, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate. We are still there for a few minutes. This webinar is recorded, so it will be edited and post on our YouTube channel. Again, if you need, if you think that we can, you want us to provide this webinar to your consulting engineers, don't hesitate. We are there for this. And next month we will talk again about the SteamOS humidifier. This is our latest product. It's a small electric steam humidifier for residential application or small offices, and so we will go in depth in detail on the market, the application, of course, the features, and the way we are intending to sell this humidifier. So this will be next month. Thank you again, everyone, and stay safe. Still, have a nice day. Bye.